In an earlier video, we got an understanding of the competency framework taxonomy and how to develop it. In this video, we will dive a bit deeper into the details of the competency model, the Navigator mastery model. We know that learning on the Navigator is tracked at the level of a competency. Any subject can have a series of competencies that could possibly have relationships between them. Let us understand this further and its significance on routes and reroutes. Navigator tracks prerequisite competencies. Any competency could have prerequisite competencies that determine the understanding of the competency. Prerequisite competencies refer to prior related competencies in the same topic with a possible lower learning depth or level compared to the specific competency. The understanding of any competency demonstrates the understanding of the prerequisites as well, known as inferred mastery in the Navigator mastery model. Let us look at an example of this. In a math framework within the domain of data, there are 3 competencies listed within the topic of data collection. If a learner demonstrates understanding of the competency, interprets information given in the form of data, like what variables are studied and forms conclusions, it is inferred that the learner has an understanding of the first 2 competencies as well, which are its prerequisite competencies. Let us now look at dependent competencies. The competency model also identifies a competency with a prerequisite list of competencies from other topics and domains that are required for the learner to be proficient in prior to learning the given competency. These are called dependent competencies. These dependencies can be between competencies that are across topics and domains. The platform uses these dependent competencies to address learning gaps if necessary. Let us look at an example of this. This is the competency map of the Educational Leadership Framework. Mastery of the competency knows how to create opportunities for district leadership, schools and families is dependent on the following competencies. The white dots indicate the list of dependent competencies for this particular competency. We can also see that these dependent competencies cut across various domains. Let us now understand what markers are. Markers are labels for a given set of competencies. These could be a short course, a job role, and so on. When an instructor defines markers for a course, he or she is essentially defining the set of competencies that their learners can study and can be a part of their learning journey. This is a professional learning framework. Here you can see a list of markers associated with this framework. Each of these markers hold a set of competencies within the framework. You can see that on clicking a marker, the highline changes, displaying the competencies that are associated with it. These are the set of competencies associated with the marker data scientist, whereas these are the set of competencies associated with the marker data engineer. Navigator hosts various competency frameworks across various disciplines. In certain situations, it may be necessary to align or map specific frameworks with existing ones. This process of mapping is called a crosswalk. At times, it may be necessary to align local state standards with an established national framework. Crosswalking frameworks helps to address local norms and requirements, such as displaying competency statements in regional languages, meeting local variations where competencies covered in a specific grade within the local framework may be addressed in a different grade within the national framework. Let us look at some more examples of this. This table shows the competencies that exist on the Navigator. It also shows the competencies from the NCERT framework as well as the State Board of UP framework. We can see that competencies from NCERT and State Board of UP have been crosswalked to the existing competency framework. Similarly, in this example, we can see that competencies from the CCSS integrated framework and the California State Standards framework have been crosswalked to the existing competency frameworks. One of the advantages of a crosswalk is that content creators can get access to content that has been created for competencies from the existing frameworks. We've discussed prerequisite competencies, dependent competencies, markers, and crosswalks, all of which contribute to a more effective and adaptive learning experience, making the Navigator Mastery Model an efficient tool for tracking and enhancing learning.